Hello everyone, it's Steve Arc Avenue, I'm Eric. Welcome to Epic Universe Reviews, a series of videos reviewing each of the 11 rides at the all-new Universal's Epic Universe theme park at Universal Orlando Resort. In each video, I will talk through my experience on one of the rides, provide useful information about it, and give some final thoughts on how good the ride is. For the second video of this series, I am reviewing Fyre Drill, a MACK Rides Splash Battle in the Isle of Berk. Spoilers for the ride incoming. For those who have been with my channel for a while, you may recall that I have already made a video calling Fyre Drill the park's most overlooked ride. I went in more hyped to ride it than most other rides in the park due to my previous experience with this excellent ride model. However, the park opened and I saw many lists calling Fyre Drill the worst ride in the park. People don't normally hate it, but I wondered if my excitement for the ride was misguided. Fortunately, I loved the ride, and I might consider it the most underrated ride at Epic Universe. Let's talk about why by going through the ride experience. As you approach the ride, you see a very pleasant entrance sign that gets across the theme of the ride well with the fire icon, spraying water, and the zibbleback dragons piloted by the movie characters Ruffnut and Tuffnut. Once in the queue, you see plenty of signs helping you understand the story and mechanics of the ride. To briefly explain the story, Ruffnut and Tuffnut made a model of Berk with some creative liberties, featuring targets for you to shoot with water cannons. The targets have fire icons on them because the point is to help teach you how to put out fires in Berk. But since the characters who made the course are twins that often compete, there's an added competition element. Each side of the boat is either Team Ruffnut or Team Tuffnut. But there's no scorekeeping like many rides of this sort. Instead, the competition is between other boats. Sometimes, your boat will pass another one that's moving the opposite direction. And this is when you are face to face with people from the opposing team, and you can shoot them with the water cannons. When I rode, nobody was on the other boats because it was the start of the day. But I know from other splash battles that as long as you're in the mood to get wet, these parts are a lot of fun. Besides these moments, you will be floating around the course on the boat, shooting targets with your water cannons, and triggering some fun visual and audio cues just like a shooting dark ride. There's no points being tracked or given, but it's still satisfying to hear a ding every time you get the target spinning. It's also worth noting that many of the targets trigger water effects that will likely hit you, and other people on your boat, from both sides in fact, can hit targets that will hit somebody else. So if you want to avoid as many water features as possible, you have to hope your boat is full of people who are bad at hitting targets. One additional note on getting wet is that the seats will almost definitely be wet once you get on, so keep that in mind. Besides the water features, the two key elements of this ride that will determine how much you enjoy it are the sets and the mechanics. I think one of these elements is great, and the other is a bit mixed. The sets are fantastic. The style is simple, but I love the way it looks, and the surrounding rockwork is realistic enough to make it feel like a training course within Berk. The designs honestly feel straight out of the movies, and there is so much going on in the sets that if you take a break from target practice and enjoy the scenery, you'll be pleased. The boats look stunning, and the interactive elements of these sets are awesome. My favorite part is when a target triggers a Viking to chop down a tree, causing a loud boom. This movement is visually creative and super fun. All of the target responses are pretty simple, but I think it works fine because they don't draw too much attention away from the targets, avoiding the issue of sensory overload. All in all, this is a gorgeous ride that offers a super fun journey through a well-designed course. The other element to talk about is the shooting itself, and there are things I like about it. Most notably, this ride takes some skill to win. If you shoot the center of the target, nothing will happen. The targets are spinners with the axis in the center of the structure, so you have to hit the top or bottom of the target to cause it to spin and trigger the effects. That's not always easy. I had many instances where I got the target to spin part way, but then return to its original form before flipping, kind of like another ride in Berk. This skill issue might be frustrating for some guests, but as long as you can figure out how the targets work, whether through watching this video or just noticing the way the targets move when you don't hit them dead center, you'll be able to get some of the effects going. It's very rewarding when the target spins around several times after a great hit, so I love the way they design the targets. My bigger issue is with the water cannons themselves. On many splash battles, you fire the cannons by continuously turning a crank. It's easy to turn, but doing it quickly can be taxing for your arm. I assume Universal was afraid of that complaint, so they got cannons that are activated by simply pulling a handle toward you, releasing a jet of water. You don't constantly need to pump, just pull the handle back, keep it back, and the water will spray for a bit. This was probably the right call for the Universal audience to an extent, but my issue with this change is that the water stops after a certain while, and you have to put the handle back forward, and then pull it again to keep shooting. Not a huge deal, but on the other splash battles, you have complete control over when the water stops. When I face other boats in the other splash battles, I pump like mad until the water can't reach them anymore. In this ride, I would just pull back the handle, the water would stop before the other boat was out of range, and then I have to re-pull the handle one more time. This latter scenario is a lot less fun and competitive. Therefore, I prefer the mechanism of other splash battles, and I'd say the interaction with other boats and people with cannons are a bit worse here than others of the same model. Overall, I had a great time on Fyre Drill. The shooting is slightly less engaging than the other rides of the splash battle model, but the targets and sets more than make up for that. I won't say exactly where I rank it at Epic Universe because I'm working on a ranking of all the rides after I review the rest, but I can tell you it's not at the bottom. Not even bottom 3. If you dislike getting wet on theme park attractions, sure, this isn't for you. Though I do have a video with tips on avoiding getting wet on this ride. If you do enjoy water rides, this one offers a super fun experience through and through, with top-notch theming and fun surprises galore. The story is genuinely very well constructed given how simple the ride is, and even though it's not an original ride model, it's one that I always have a blast on. I do prefer the splash battle called Battle Galleons at Alton Towers in the UK, because it has one of the best queues in theme park history and better competitive elements. But this one has much better sets, and I highly recommend it if you go to Epic Universe. To end this review, I will be giving the ride a number score out of 10. A 1 means it's among the absolute worst of Universal attractions, like Fast and Furious Supercharged. A 10 means it's among the very best, such as Velocicoaster or Spider-Man. Those scores are just my opinion, as is the score for Fyre Drill. For Fyre Drill's score, I will give it a 7 out of 10. It is the weakest Universal water ride, though the 3 Islands of Adventure are among the very best in the country, and it's still an absolute joy through and through that I personally think is worth a ride at Epic Universe. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please comment down below any questions or thoughts you have, subscribe so you know when the next Epic Universe review comes out, and stay tuned for the rest of those. I'll see you next time.